London, 1842. The city yearns for scandal. You can almost hear it. The rustle of silk, the clinking of crystal, and above all, the whisper of names that should never be spoken aloud. Tonight, one name returns to every drawing room. The Duchess of Evermere. Once, she was the envy of London society, grace in every step, a smile trained never to falter, a heart that naively believed marriage meant security. Then came the fall, the whispers, the glances that darted away like knives, and the Duke who refused to look at her at all. You know a woman truly ruined in this city, not when enemies call her a liar, but when her own husband stays silent. He did not defend her. He did not ask questions. He simply stepped back. One pace in a ballroom, and her entire world shattered. People say the Duchess hid a terrible secret, something so devastating it would have destroyed the Duke himself. A scandal so dark that even London, expert en pecados alheos, dared not say it aloud. What was it? An affair, a child, a crime, or something far worse for our dear aristocracy? The truth. Our Duke of Evermere, of course, prefers not to discuss that night. He prefers his brandy, his perfectly trained hounds, and the comforting illusion that the villain of this story is his wife. How convenient. But every tragedy in London has a patron, and this one bears the fingerprints of a very powerful hand. Enter Lord Blackthorne, respected statesman, benefactor of orphans, and the man who smiles too long when someone is destroyed in public. He was the first to receive the anonymous letters, the first to arrive with proof, the first to whisper in the Duke's ear. He spoke of honor, of duty, of reputation, and with each careful word, he buried the Duchess a little deeper. Society applauded his loyalty. They always applaud the man holding the shovel. Our Duchess left London soon after. No farewell soiree, no dramatic speech, only a closed carriage at dawn, and a veil so thick no one could see if she cried. They said she would never return, that no woman supporta tamaña humillação and dares to show her face again. They were wrong, because tonight, as the chandeliers burn low over the Evermere ballroom, and the orchestra tunes for yet another season of well-dressed hypocrisy, a carriage stops before the ducal residence. A gloved hand touches the door. A familiar silhouette steps down, head erect, back straight, heart no longer naive. The Duchess has come home. London leans forward. The Duke freezes. Lord Blackthorne smiles in the shadows. After all this time, she still carries the secret that ruined her, the secret the Duke never truly wanted to hear. But here is the riddle, dear listener. Is the Duchess returning to beg for love, or to expose the real villain who tore her life apart? And when the truth finally enters that glittering ballroom, who will survive it? Of course, London society, being the delicate, compassionate creature it absolutely is not, did not wait a single heartbeat before sharpening its claws. The moment the Duchess's slipper touched the marble floor of Evermere Hall, gossip sprinted faster than any carriage horse could hope to run. A footman nearly dropped a silver tray. A debutante gasped so alto that tres tias desmayaram ao mesmo tempo. And someone, no one ever confesses, whispered, "She returned, returned," as if she were some lost jewel misplaced under a sofa cushion. Our Duke, poor, beautifully oblivious man, had not prepared for this. He had prepared for everything except the consequences of his own choices. He stood frozen at the top of the staircase. Tailcoat, perfect. Cravat, perfectly arrogant. Expression, perfectly ruined. One could almost pity him. Almost. But this, dear listener, is the part where we remember. When she begged him to believe her, when her voice cracked, when her hands trembled, he turned away. One pace, one cruel pace, and she was gone. But tonight? Well, tonight the Duchess walks as if she owns every chandelier in London. Her emerald gown sweeps the floor with righteous vengeance, embroidered with tiny golden vines, as if nature itself decided to hug her. Her gloves, long and ivory, hide the way her fingers used to shake. They do not shake now. She is magnificent, and London hates magnificence when it returns from the grave. The Duke descends the steps slowly, as though approaching an unpredictable storm, or perhaps approaching the ghost of his own regret. "Your Grace," he murmurs. A greeting, a plea, a confession buried under 3 tiny syllables. But the Duchess? Ah, she has mastered the art of silence. She inclines her head with un sorriso tão educado que dói, and walks right past him. Yes, right past the man who once held her heart, and the man who once broke it. The orchestra stumbles, guests freeze, a Viscountess fans herself with the panic of someone witnessing history. And through the shimmering chaos, Lord Blackthorn stands near a column, watching the Duchess with the serenity of a cobra, prestisa atticar. Why is he smiling? What does he know? What did he start? Because, let us be honest, no woman abandons London abruptly unless someone made sure the world believed a lie. And no lie survives this long unless it benefits a powerful man. The Duchess pauses mid-hallway, her back still turned to the Duke. A simple gesture. Yet the entire ballroom hushes as if commanded by a queen. Her gloved hand brushes the edge of her cloak, and for the briefest second, a shadow slips free, a folded paper, a symbol marked in ink, something she hides quickly. Ah, there it is, the first crack in society's porcelain mask. She did not return merely for reconciliation, nor for forgiveness, nor for the foolish thing called closure. She returned with evidence. Evidence that could burn Evermere to the ground. Evidence that could ruin a duke or save one. Evidence that Lord Blackthorn would kill to keep buried. But what, you ask, dear listener, is written on that secret she carries so close to her heart? Well, London will find out soon enough. For now, we end our chapter here. Just as the Duchess lifts her chin, just as a masked stranger steps into the ballroom, and just as the Duke realizes something far more terrifying than heartbreak itself, he was wrong. About everything. There are 2 kinds of shocks in London society. The first is a mild flutter, like when a baron's toupee falls during a waltz. The second, well, that is when a duchess returns from exile carrying a secret capable of rearranging the entire aristocracy like pièces de xadrez. Tonight is, undeniably, the second. The Duke of Evermere remains frozen where she left him, mid-staircase, mid-heartbeat, mid-life crisis. One could almost hear his regrets lining up politely, waiting for their turn to ruin him. He watches as the Duchess moves through the ballroom with measured grace, back straight, chin high, eyes colder than London's winter mornings. She does not tremble. She does not glance back. She does not offer him a single crumb of mercy. And Londres, ah, dear listener, London devours the scene like a starving beast. Whispers curl around chandeliers. Did she come for revenge? Did she come for him? Did she come to expose the truth? Truth. A dangerous word in this city. It breaks more hearts than marriage itself. The Duchess stops beside the great marble column. Yes, that column that witnessed her greatest humiliation 3 years ago. How poetic of her to return right to the scene of the crime. Lord Blackthorn stands there, shadowed, impeccably dressed, of course. Tailcoat black as a funeral, gloves so pristine they could strangle innocence without leaving prints. He bows, too deeply, too confidently, as if he owns the secret she carries. Your Grace, he murmurs, London is delighted to see you alive. Alive. Imagine greeting a woman as though survival were a feat she accomplished solely to inconvenience him. But the Duchess only smiles, a small cutting curve of lips that says, I survived far more than you intended. Their eyes lock, and the ballroom senses something venomous simmering right beneath the surface. Something old, something unfinished, something Lord Blackthorn desperately wishes would remain buried. The Duke, from across the hall, stiffens. His jaw clenches. His hand curls at his side. He looks at Blackthorn as though calculating whether murder in public is frowned upon or simply mildly impolite. Ah, how charming. Men only remember they have a wife when another man is near her. But before the tension can snap, the orchestra begins a new waltz. The Duchess turns, ready to slip into a shadowed corner, because even the strongest hearts need a moment to breathe, when something unexpected happens. A stranger steps from the crowd, tall, masked, dressed in midnight blue. He bows before her with a confidence that hushes the room. "May I have this dance, Your Grace?" Her breath stutters, only a fraction. But London sees everything. She hesitates, not because she fears him, but because she recognizes something familiar in the way he holds himself. Something from a past she did not agree to revisit. Still, she places her gloved hand in his. Because sometimes a duchess must dance with ghosts to understand the living. They move to the center of the ballroom. Silk glides, boots whisper, chandeliers shimmer like constellations holding their breath. And while they dance, something incredible happens. The masked stranger leans in, just enough for her to hear. "Your secret is not safe tonight." Her spine chills, her pulse flares, her steps falter for the first time. He tightens his hold. "You must leave before he finds it." She whispers back, steady even as her heart slams against her ribs. "Who? The Duke?" "No," he breathes. "Lord Blackthorn." The waltz continues. The room spins. And the Duchess realizes that whatever she brought back to London, the secret in her cloak, is not merely dangerous. It is fatal. The masked man pauses, his voice barely a breath. "They will not let you survive twice." And then, just as quickly as he appeared, he slips from her grasp and vanishes into the crowd. The Duchess stands alone in the center of the ballroom, music swelling, eyes watching, hearts racing. The Duke takes a step toward her. Lord Blackthorn takes a step as well, both men closing in, both unaware of the other, both about to collide into her newly claimed strength. "And our Duchess?" She lifts her chin, squares her shoulders, and reaches into her cloak, drawing out the folded paper with the symbol no one was ever supposed to see again. London inhales. The Duke's eyes widen. Blackthorn's mask cracks. Because the Duchess of Evermere has brought back the one thing capable of destroying a dynasty: evidence. There are moments in London society when time seems to stall. Not for romance, not for beauty, but for scandal. And tonight, scandal stands in the very center of the Evermere ballroom, wrapped in emerald silk, holding a folded paper that should have been reduced to ashes years ago. The Duchess lifts the letter just high enough for the chandeliers to kiss its edges. A single symbol decorates the seal, a raven. Painted in obsidian ink, the room gasps. Not politely, but the kind of gasp one releases when a ghost appears at dinner. Because everyone here knows, or thinks they know, what the raven means. Betrayal, threat, silence bought with fear. It is the mark of a society far darker than these crystal-lit rooms pretend to be. Lord Blackthorn reacts first. His smile fades, his eyes sharpen. And for the first time in his exquisitely privileged life, the man looks afraid. The Duke reacts second. But oh, what a reaction it is. Shock slices across his features, raw, unguarded, human. The expression of a man discovering that his greatest sin may have been believing a lie. He steps forward. 1 step, 2. Voice low, cracking like a vow broken. "Where did you find that?" The Duchess turns her head slightly. A single curl rests against her cheek like a victorious banner. She speaks quietly, but her words strike the room harder than any raised voice could. "I never lost it." Lord Blackthorn stiffens. The orchestra falters. A scandal-hungry marchioness nearly swallows her fan. The Duke, still moving toward her, lowers his voice. Why didn't you show me this before?" She meets his gaze, unflinching, calm, devastating. "Because you never asked. And oh, dear listener, London feels that sentence. It echoes down the marble halls. It spills from balcony to ballroom. It sets every gossip's heart aflame. The Duchess folds the paper again, hiding the raven's mark, but she holds it firmly at her side, a soldier gripping her sword, a queen guarding her crown. Before the Duke can draw breath, before Blackthorn can recover his mask, the Duchess sweeps through the crowd and enters the gallery hall, her cloak trailing behind her like a shadow, with intention. The Duke hesitates for only a second, then follows. Lord Blackthorn does too. Of course he does. Snakes always slither after the one thing they cannot control. The gallery is dimly lit. Candelabras flicker. Paintings of former Evermere ancestors stare down, judging everyone equally, which is quite democratic of them. The Duchess stops beside a long window, moonlight framing her like a heroine tragically ahead of her time. The Duke arrives several steps later, breath uneven, heart louder than his boots. He speaks first, always too late, always trying to correct a past he refused to see. Tell me what that letter means. She does not turn, does not blink, does not tremble. It means, she says softly, that the night I begged you to believe me, I was not lying. The Duke's breath shatters. He reaches for the back of a chair, a rare moment when a powerful man needs something sturdier than his pride to hold him steady. Then the Duchess turns to him. At last, and the sight nearly ruins him. Her eyes burn, not with anger, but with the memory of 1,000 unanswered questions. You thought I betrayed you, she whispers. You thought the rumors were true. You thought he was telling the truth. He closes his eyes. Blackthorn. Her voice sharpens, a blade hidden in velvet. Blackthorn is the reason I left London, with nothing but this letter. Before he can answer, before he can beg, a figure appears at the gallery entrance. Lord Blackthorn, your graces, he says smoothly. Perhaps it is time we discuss the truth, before more damage is done. The Duchess tilts her head. The Duke straightens. The air thickens around them like a tightening rope. Blackthorn steps forward and closes the door behind him. A soft click, a final one. Like a trap snapping shut. He looks between them with the confidence of a man who believes he has already won. But there is something he does not know. Something even the Duke has not yet realized. The Duchess is done hiding, and tonight she is ready to reveal the one truth Blackthorn spent years burying with lies. What truth? Ah, dear listener, that is the dangerous question. And the answer? Even more dangerous. We pause here, right as the Duchess takes a breath, right as Blackthorn prepares his next lie, right as the Duke steps closer to the woman he should never have doubted, because the next words spoken in this gallery will change every life in this story. The gallery door closes with a soft, elegant click, the kind of sound London society loves, because it means something indecorously important is about to happen. Lord Blackthorn stands before them like a man delivering a sermon, except no sermon ever began with a smile ton venenoso. Your graces, he says smoothly, I fear there has been a terrible misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. Ah, Claro. The favorite word of villains everywhere. The Duke folds his arms across his chest, a gesture that would intimidate anyone except the man who once orchestrated a ducal heartbreak with a quill and a whisper. The Duchess stands perfectly still, a statue carved from truth and exhaustion. Only her fingers move, pressing the folded letter tighter against her palm. Blackthorn begins pacing, slow, measured, like a man preparing arguments, lies, and alibis in equal proportions. I only ever wish to protect the Evermere name, he says. A duke of such stature must avoid scandal. The Duke's jaw tightens. That is why you came to me 3 years ago. Blackthorn nods with false humility. Indeed, a husband must know when his wife is compromised. Compromised. London's favorite synonym for woman breathing. The Duchess lifts her chin. Her voice is soft, but it slices through the room like ice breaking underfoot. What exactly do you believe I did, Lord Blackthorn? His smile grows. Men like him thrive when women flinch. But tonight, the Duchess does not. Why, Your Grace, he says, I believe you know very well indeed. The Duke steps forward. Enough riddles. Say it plainly. Blackthorn tilts his head, then speaks the lie that nearly destroyed her. That she betrayed you. The words echo against the walls. The Duchess's shoulders rise, only a fraction, before settling again with regal calm. The Duke's voice drops to a dangerous, intimate growl. And the proof you brought me? Blackthorn gestures toward the letter in her hand. That. The very thing she should have burned. The thing that exposed her. Indiscretions. The Duchess finally unfolds the letter. The seal cracks. Blackthorn stiffens. The Duke leans closer. London, if it could breathe, would stop. She holds the paper between them, but instead of reading it aloud, she lets them see only the top line. One sentence. One fatal blow to Blackthorn's entire scheme. This is a warning, not a confession. The Duke's breath catches. He looks at her, really looks at her, as if seeing his wife for the first time. Blackthorn opens his mouth, closes it, tries again, fails. Delicious. The Duchess lowers the paper. Her voice shakes now, not from fear, but from 3 years of swallowing truth. You told him, she says to Blackthorn, that this letter proved I was unfaithful. Blackthorn's smile falters. I interpreted. Her laugh is soft, elegant, lethal. You forged an entire scandal from one line. The Duke turns sharply. To what end? Ah, finally. A man asking the right question. Blackthorn sighs, a man theatrically exhausted by other people's intelligence. I did what was necessary. Your marriage made you weak, distracted. A man of power cannot. The Duke lunges, not to strike him, not yet, but close enough that Blackthorn's facade trembles. My marriage made me human, the Duke growls, and you used my doubt to poison everything I loved. Blackthorn's mask slips entirely now. He sneers. You were already willing to believe the worst of her. Silence. Cold. Brutal. True. The Duchess lowers her gaze, just for a second. Her pain is quiet, but it reverberates through the gallery like an unspoken symphony. The Duke looks at her, not with pride, not with stubbornness, but with something dangerously close to breaking. Forgive me, he whispers, for believing him, for not protecting you, for letting you walk away alone. Her breath trembles, just once, just enough, before she can speak, before this fragile moment can become something real. A loud crash echoes from the ballroom. Shouts erupt. A woman screams. Footsteps pound toward them. A footman bursts into the gallery. Face pale, chest heaving. Your Graces, you must come at once. Someone has broken into the ducal vault. Blackthorn's eyes widen. The Duchess grips the letter. The Duke steps closer to her instinctively. And London, dear listener, is about to discover that this story was never about a single lie, but about a much larger truth someone is willing to destroy everything to protect. If there is one thing London adores more than scandal, it is fresh scandal, preferably served quente, in Esperado, and involving a duke, a duchess, and, why not, a criminal bold enough to invade a ducal vault during a ball. Truly, dear listener, society could not have asked for a better evening. The Duke reacts first. He steps protectively in front of the Duchess. A reflex he had forgotten, but his body clearly remembered. Blackthorn reacts second. He pales, truly pales. The color drains from his face with such speed that one might mistake him for a ghost auditioning for a higher-paying haunting. Ah, guilt is a marvelous makeup remover. The Duchess tucks the letter to her chest, not out of fear, but because she now realizes exactly what someone is trying to find. The vault, she murmurs. Of course, that is where the original documents are kept. Original documents, plural, a palavra que acende pânico em qualquer aristocrata. The Duke turns to her. You know what's missing? Not missing, she answers softly. Stolen, because someone knows I returned with the raven seal, and fears what else I might have found. Blackthorn clears his throat, loudly, unnecessarily. Perhaps we should not jump to accusations. The Duchess narrows her gaze. My dear lord, you practically live in accusations. The Duke does not smile, but one corner of his mouth twitches, the first hint of life in the man since she left London 3 years ago. They move quickly through the gallery, the echo of their steps mixing with the muffled chaos in the ballroom. Guests whisper behind gloved hands. Who broke into the vault? What were they looking for? Why is the Duchess holding a letter like a shield? And why is the Duke looking at her as if suddenly remembering that she once meant the world to him? The vault lies beneath Evermere Hall. Through a corridor of cold stone, lit by torches that flicker like gossip, too afraid to speak aloud. When they reach the final archway, a guard waits trembling. Truly trembling. Not metaphorically, as in knees visibly shaking. Your Graces. The lock was forced. The Duke kneels beside the massive iron door, scratched, dented, split open with precision. He touches the metal, still warm. Whoever did this was here mere moments ago. The Duchess steps inside first, her skirts brushing ancient stone, her gloved fingers tracing the air as if she can sense fear, like others sense perfume. The vault is lined with shelves of documents, ledgers, maps, sealed envelopes. The foundation of an entire ducal legacy. But one shelf is empty, not disorganized, not disturbed, empty, completely cleared, as if someone knew exactly what to take. The Duchess goes still. Blackthorn inhales sharply. The Duke feels the world shift beneath his boots. What was here? The Duke asks, voice low. The Duchess closes her eyes, a heartbreakingly familiar pain crossing her features. The letters, she whispers. The ones Lord Evermere, your father, wrote about the Blackthorn estate scandal. Blackthorn stiffens. Those documents were destroyed decades ago. She turns to him slowly. Apparently not. The Duke straightens, fury rising. My father kept records? Yes, she replies, because he suspected Blackthorn's family of diverting funds from the Crown's war relief. Those letters would have ruined him. Blackthorn snaps, voice trembling with a mixture of fear and authority. This is nonsense, conjecture, a dead man's scribbles. The Duchess lifts the raven-sealed letter. This? She steps closer. This is not conjecture. It is a warning from your father, sent to me on the night I disappeared. The Duke's breath stops. Blackthorn's eyes widen, and the torchlight flickers dramatically, as if even the flames are invested. You received a letter from my father? The Duke whispers. She nods. But before I could show it to you, someone attacked my carriage. A hush. A violent hush. The kind that rewrites entire marriages. You were attacked. His voice cracks, raw with horror he never allowed himself to feel. She finally meets his gaze. Yes, and the man who chased me that night wore Blackthorn colors. Blackthorn lunges forward. A lie! But the Duchess steps back into the Duke's shadow, not in fear, but because she knows it will ignite something inside him. And it does. The Duke moves between them with the fury of a man who has just realized his worst mistake was trusting the wrong enemy. You lied to me, he says to Blackthorn. You manipulated me. You nearly got my wife killed. Blackthorn's mask finally shatters. He spits. I did what I had to. Evermere was mine by right until your father stole the title from my family. The Duchess gasps softly. Not from shock, but from the final piece of the puzzle snapping into place. The Duke whispers, voice tight with disbelief and rising fury. This was never about her. No, Blackthorn growls, this was always about you. And then, before either can react, something crashes in the corridor outside the vault. A rush of footsteps, a shadow, a figure fleeing. Someone else was listening. Someone who now runs through Evermere Hall, carrying the stolen letters that could destroy the Duke, the Duchess, and possibly all of London. The Duke turns to his wife, eyes blazing with a promise he should have made years ago. "Come," he murmurs. "We finish this together." And for the first time in 3 years, the Duchess takes his hand. There are many things a Duchess is expected to do. Host soirees, wear gowns heavy enough to sink a small boat, pretend she has no opinions whatsoever. Chasing a thief through the ducal corridors at midnight, however, is not typically on the list. But then, nothing about the Duchess of Evermere has ever been typical. She tightens her grip on the Duke's hand as they run up the staircase, skirts sweeping marble like a storm dressed in emerald silk. The Duke moves beside her, large, determined, breath unsteady. As if every beat of his heart is an apology, he is too ashamed to speak aloud. Behind them, the torches flicker wildly. Ahead, the shadow of the fleeing intruder darts into the east wing. "Who do you think it is?" she asks, breath quick. The Duke glances at her. "Someone working for Blackthorn." Behind them, Lord Blackthorn snarls, "Preposterous! Preposterous." A word men use when the truth becomes inconvenient. They turn the corner and find the corridor empty, silent, still, too still. The Duchess slows, eyes narrowing. No one disappears this quickly, not without help. She steps forward, fingers brushing the edge of a tapestry nearly as old as the Evermere name. It hangs crooked. Just enough. She lifts it. Behind it is a door. Small, hidden, locked from the inside. "Secret passages now?" she mutters. "Your ancestors were dramatic." The Duke actually huffs, a sound dangerously close to a laugh. They were politicians. Same thing. He braces his shoulder against the door. 1, 2. Before he can break it, the Duchess raises a hand. "Move." She slides a pin from her hair, a delicate golden thing shaped like a leaf, leftover from a happier life. He watches, breath caught. "You still know how to—" She arches a brow. 3 years away from London teaches a woman many things, Your Grace. The lock clicks, clean, smooth, perfect. The Duke blinks. That was impressive. She lifts her chin. "Underestimate me again and see what else I've learned." Ah, dear listener, the man is undone, positively ruined. The passage yawns open, cool and shadowed, leading into darkness thick enough to hide sins and sinners alike. They enter. The Duke first, the Duchess second. Blackthorn third, protesting every step. The air grows colder as they move through the narrow stone tunnel. Moisture drips from the ceiling. Cobwebs brush her gown. A place of secrets, built for secrets, now used to guard stolen truth. Footsteps echo ahead, rapid, retreating, fearful. The Duke's voice drops. He's heading to the portrait gallery exit. "And from there," she whispers, "he can escape through the garden gate." The Duke's jaw tightens. Not tonight. They emerge into the portrait gallery. Moonlight pours through tall, arched windows, painting the ancestral faces on the walls with ghostly glow. And there, at the far end, the intruder, cloaked, hunched, a bundle of letters clutched to their chest. The Duchess steps forward. "Stop!" The figure bolts, and the chase begins again. But this time, the Duchess leads. Her gown flashes emerald fire as she sprints down the corridor, the Duke right behind her, Blackthorn gasping somewhere in the back, like a dying accordion. The intruder crashes through the garden doors, into the cold night air. The Duchess follows. The gardens of Evermere stretch before her, hedges trimmed into spirals, midnight roses shimmering with dew, a fountain whispering forgotten secrets. The thief races toward the iron gate. Freedom, escape, victory. But the Duchess is faster. Years of surviving alone taught her a truth London never understood. A woman running for her life learns to move with purpose. She reaches the gate just as the intruder grabs it, and she slams it shut with her palm. The thief spins, and for the first time she sees the face beneath the hood. A girl, no older than 17, eyes wide, terrified, dressed in servant's garb. Not a mastermind, not a villain, a pawn. The Duchess softens her voice. "Who sent you?" The girl shakes, clutching the stolen letters. He said he'd ruin my family if I refused. The Duke reaches them. Who? The girl hesitates, trembling, fingers whitening around the stolen papers. Finally, she whispers a single name. Not Blackthorn. The Duchess freezes. The Duke stiffens. Even the wind halts. The girl looks up, panic shimmering in her eyes. He said the Duchess must never read the last letter, because the truth it contains would destroy her. Silence. Cold, cutting, fatal. The Duchess swallows. What truth? The girl shakes her head. I don't know. But he said it was about the night you disappeared. The Duke reaches for the letters, slow, careful, but the girl pulls them back. He said you would kill me for them. The Duchess steps forward, gently lays a hand on the girl's cheek. Soft, human, warm. Look at me, she whispers. I am not that kind of woman. The girl hesitates, then slowly releases the stolen bundle into her hands. As the Duchess accepts the letters, one envelope slips loose from the stack. Unmarked, different, warped with age. She picks it up, heart pounding, and turns it over. Her breath catches. The handwriting on the front is her own. The Duke steps closer. What is it? The Duchess can barely speak. This letter, I wrote it, but I never sent it. The Duke frowns. Then how? She slowly breaks the seal, unfolds the paper, sees the first line, and her entire world tilts, because the letter is addressed not to a stranger, nor to the Duke, but to someone she believed dead. The Duke whispers, voice trembling, Who were you writing to? She looks up, eyes shimmering with disbelief. My brother. The one she never told anyone about. The one no one in London knew existed. The one whose disappearance fractured her life long before the Duke ever could. The Duke steps closer. Soft. Careful. Terrified. What happened to him? The Duchess closes her eyes. Someone made sure he vanished. And now, with this letter in hand, she finally knows why. If London ever learned that the Duchess once had a brother, it would, sem duvida, require at least 3 fainting couches and an emergency shipment of smelling salts. After all, aristocracy tolerates scandals, affairs, duels, and even the occasional poisoned trifle. But secrets familiaris? Unforgivable. The garden is silent around them. Moonlight spills across the Duchess's hands as she holds the rediscovered letter. Her own handwriting staring back at her like a ghost with impeccable penmanship. The Duke steps closer, his voice low, careful, as if approaching a wounded animal, or worse yet, a woman who finally stopped making excuses for him. Tell me, he murmurs, about your brother. She hesitates, not because she is afraid to speak, but because this truth has lived inside her like a locked room for so many years that opening it now feels like tearing open old stitches. Still, she looks up, and her voice, though quiet, carries the weight of an entire forgotten life. His name was Elias. The Duke's breath catches. The name feels heavy, like a memory he was never granted the privilege to know. He was older than me by 3 years, she continues. My mother hid him from society, said he was too spirited. Spirited, a polite word for refusing to bow to powerful men. London never forgives that. She swallows. He vanished the year before our marriage. The Duke's brow tightens. You told me he died. She nods once, a tiny, devastating confession. That's what I believed, until tonight. Blackthorn hisses, because of course he does. Your Grace, there is no reason to assume... Silence. The Duke's voice is sharp, cold, commanding. It is a beautiful thing, really, when a man finally chooses the right target for his authority. The Duchess opens the letter with trembling fingers. Inside is a short note, barely a few lines, but those lines begin a storm that London will not be able to contain. She reads aloud. If you are reading this, something has gone wrong. Do not trust those who stand closest to power. I have uncovered something inside Evermere, something they will kill to protect. Her voice breaks, soft as a petal crushed underfoot. "I wrote this before I tried to find him," she whispers. "I hid a copy in my room, and someone else found it first." The Duke looks at her, really looks, as realization dawns with brutal clarity. "The night your carriage was attacked, you were searching for your brother." She nods, "And I was getting close, too close." Blackthorn scoffs. "This is absurd, a childish fantasy." The Duchess lifts her gaze, and the look she gives him could slice through steel cleaner than any blade. "Then why," she says softly, "did someone steal the Evermere letters tonight? Why did they take the record of your family's crimes? Why did they try to keep me from this?" Blackthorn's jaw clenches. A tell, a fatal one. The Duke's voice drops to a growl. "What do you know about Elias?" Blackthorn lifts his chin, trying desperately to rearrange his face into something resembling innocence. "Nothing," he lies. Oh, dear listener, he lies terribly. The Duchess steps closer to her husband, not touching him. Not yet, but close enough that he can feel the tremor of her breath. "Your father knew," she whispers. "He wrote about it in the letters. Elias discovered something in the Evermere accounts, something about the Blackthorn estate. That's why he vanished." The Duke's face drains of color. His voice is barely a breath. "My father tried to warn you, and someone ensured his warning never reached you." Blackthorn's lips curl. Perhaps the late Duke should have been more careful with his papers. It is a confession, not spoken, but clear as daylight. The Duke lunges forward before reason can restrain him. The Duchess catches his arm, not stopping him, but saving him. Because she knows men who strike too soon lose the war they are trying to win. She shakes her head softly. "Not like this." Her voice, steady, firm, regal, halts him far more effectively than any guard could. Blackthorn steps back, relieved for a moment, until he hears her next words. "We expose him, completely, publicly." Ah, there it is, the rebirth of the Duchess, solid, sharp, unbreakable. The Duke turns to her, and something in his eyes shifts. Not guilt, not regret, not fear. Something softer, warmer, dangerously close to the man he was meant to be. "Tell me what you need," he murmurs. "I will give you everything." Her breath trembles, but she does not look away. We start with the letters, all of them, and we find out what truly happened to Elias. Blackthorn blurts, desperate, "You're chasing ghosts." The Duchess finally smiles, slow, terrifyingly elegant. "Then why, Lord Blackthorn? Are you so afraid of the dead?" The wind rises through the roses. Somewhere in the distance, a horse whinnies. Footsteps echo again, more than one, coming fast. The Duke moves to shield her. The Duchess raises the letters. Blackthorn pales. Because someone else is coming for the truth. And this time, the night will demand a price. There are moments in life when the world stands still. Moments when a whisper becomes a weapon, a breath becomes a confession, and the night itself seems to lean in, curious. This is one of those moments. Heavy footsteps thunder through the garden archway. Not one pair, two. Fast, urgent, wrong. The Duchess clutches the stolen letters to her chest, moonlight silvering her silhouette like armor forged from grief. The Duke shifts beside her, his hand reaching instinctively toward her back, as if protecting her is no longer a choice, but a biological necessity. Blackthorn stands behind them, pale as chalk, visibly calculating escape routes with all the grace of a rodent planning a rebellion. From the shadows emerge two figures, tall, masked, dressed not like thieves, but like men who serve powerful masters, men who do not fail. The Duchess inhales sharply, that tiny sound of fear a woman only releases when death is suddenly close enough to touch. The taller figure steps forward. His voice is low, practiced, and laced with the sort of confidence that comes from doing the unspeakable far too many times. "Your Graces," he says, "hand over the letters." The Duke steps in front of the Duchess, shielding her with his body. He does not blink. He does not waver. He simply says, "No." A small word, but it changes everything. The Duchess's breath shatters, just once, because for the first time in 3 years, her husband chooses her. Not his pride, not society, not Blackthorn's poisonous whispers. Her. Blackthorn edges backward, sweat shining at his temples. The masked men take note and move to block his escape. "Running, my lord?" The shorter man sneers. Blackthorn freezes. The Duchess steps forward before he can speak, not to save him, but to trap him in truth. "You hired them," she says quietly. The taller man chuckles. "Oh no, your grace, he doesn't have the coin for that." Blackthorn stiffens. The Duke turns slowly. Calm. Terrifying. "Aside from extortion and corruption," he says, "is there anything you can afford, Blackthorn?" Irony, perfectly timed, is a weapon of its own. But the Duchess isn't listening to their bickering. She steps slightly to her left, just enough to see the sigil embroidered onto the gloves of the masked intruders. A raven. Ink black. Alive with meaning. Her heart plummets. "Elias," she whispers. The Duke hears. "Your brother?" She nods once. "They're wearing the same mark he warned me about." The taller man tilts his head. "Smart girl." The Duchess flinches, not at the insult, but at the realization that Elias was not just running from Blackthorn. He was running from this. She holds the letters tighter. "I won't give them to you." The man sighs. "Then we will take them." He moves, fast, deadly, too deadly for a ballroom scandal, but perfect for a conspiracy spanning years. But the Duke is faster. He blocks the blow, shoves the man backward, and pulls the Duchess behind him. Their bodies pressed so close she can feel the hammering of his heart. "Stay behind me," he breathes. "No," she whispers back. "We do this together." The masked men circle. Predators closing in. Blackthorn stumbles away, only to be slammed into a hedge by the second intruder. "Where is the boy?" the man demands. Blackthorn wheezes. "What boy?" The Duchess freezes. The Duke turns sharply. "The boy?" The taller man grins beneath his mask. "Ah, you don't know." He looks at the Duchess, and for the first time tonight, fear blossoms in her eyes like a bruise forming beneath the skin. "Your brother," the intruder says, "did not disappear alone." The letters slip slightly in her trembling fingers. "What do you mean?" The shorter man steps forward. "He left someone behind." He tilts his head. "A child." Her knees nearly buckle. A child?" The Duke's breath catches. "Elias had a son?" The intruder smiles. "Had? No, your grace, the boy is alive." The Duchess presses a hand to her chest, as if steadying a heart suddenly too full. "Where is he?" Her voice breaks. The man shrugs. "Depends." The Duke's eyes darken. "Depends on what?" The man gestures lazily toward the letters. "On whether you hand over the truth." Ah, there it is. The real game. The real threat. The real price. Not the letters. Not the scandal. Not Elias. But the child. A living heir to a legacy someone wants to erase. The Duchess steps forward, fury and terror intertwining like wildfire. "You will not touch him." The intruder smirks. "That's adorable." The Duke grabs the man by the collar, all anger, all vow, all husband, and snarls, "Tell us where he is." The intruder only laughs. "Give us the letters, then we will consider it." The Duchess lifts her chin, eyes blazing like emerald fire. "I would burn the world before giving you these." The taller man sighs, drawing a hidden blade from his coat. "Then the boy will burn instead." The Duchess gasps, a sound that slices through the night like the breaking of a soul. The Duke steps in front of her again, voice shaking with rage. "You will not touch him. You will not touch her. Not while I breathe." And then, before anyone can move, a third voice cuts through the darkness. Calm. Quiet. Ghostly. "I believe," the voice says, "that you should step away from my sister." The Duchess goes still. The Duke freezes mid-breath. Even the masked intruders jolt backward. From the shadow of the orchard, a figure steps forward, tall, lean, alive. The moonlight spills across his face, and the Duchess's knees finally give way. Elias, she breathes. Her brother, alive, stands before her, eyes the same shade as hers, wearing the raven mark, and yet looking nothing like the villains who bore it. "Hello, little sister," he says softly. "We have much to discuss. There are gasps in London, and depois ha isto, a duchess falling to her knees, a duke frozen mid-step, two assassins recoiling, Blackthorn choking on his own fear, and Elias very much alive, stepping into the moonlight like a ghost too impatient to stay dead. The Duchess can barely breathe. Her trembling fingers reach for him as if her mind requires physical proof that the one person she mourned for years is standing right in front of her. "Elias?" Her voice breaks like glass underfoot. He kneels immediately, hands closing around hers. Warm, solid, real. "I'm here," he murmurs. "I never stopped trying to return." The Duke swallows hard, emotion tightening his throat, a rare thing to witness in a man raised to be marble. "Why didn't you come to us?" Elias turns toward him, eyes sharp with intelligence and exhaustion. "Because I never knew whom to trust." The assassins shift. Elias stands, turning his body just enough to place himself between them and his sister, the exact place he stood the night he vanished. "You still serve the old mark," he says to the masked men. His tone is cold, deadly, commanding. Not a victim, not a fugitive, a leader. They flinch. Yes, flinch. "We serve the master," the taller man stammers. "Not you." Elias tilts his head, a movement that makes even the Duke tense. "And yet here you kneel, fumbling like children who stole the wrong sweets." The Duchess looks between them, her heartbeat pounding like a drum of war. "You were part of this organization?" Elias nods slowly. "At first, before I knew what they had planned." The Duke steps closer to his wife, protective instinct reigniting like wildfire. What did they want? Elias does not look away. They wanted Evermere. Blackthorn gasps. Too loud, too guilty, too obvious. Elias's gaze snaps toward him. "You," he says softly, "were always the weakest link." The Duchess straightens, her voice icy as the winter wind. "Tell me everything." Elias hesitates only to look at her. Really look, as if memorizing the woman she became in the years he wasn't there to protect her. Then he speaks, calm, measured, dangerous. "It began when I discovered irregularities in the Blackthorn accounts, funds diverted, names forged, documents falsified. I took the evidence to your husband's father." He nods at the Duke. "He promised protection." The Duke's breath catches. "My father knew?" Elias nods. "He did, and he paid for it." The Duchess feels her stomach twist. "Paid? How?" Elias's jaw hardens. "They had him poisoned." Silence. A brutal, suffocating silence. The kind that devours everything in its path. The Duke's face shatters. The grief he buried, the unanswered questions, the guilt of a son who believed illness stole his father. "My father didn't die sick." His voice cracks. "He was murdered." Elias nods once. "And when they realized he had warned me, they came after me next." The Duchess grips his sleeve. "You were attacked?" "Yes," Elias answers softly. "But I escaped. Barely. I stayed hidden for years, collecting every piece of evidence they stole, including those letters." He gestures to the bundle in her hands. "Those belong to you now." The taller assassin interrupts, steadily losing patience. "You were supposed to stay dead." Elias smiles coldly. "Do forgive me for the inconvenience." Blackthorn lunges toward the Duke, desperate, shaking. "You must stop this. You must silence him. He'll ruin everything." The Duke steps back, from the man he once trusted and now sees as the architect of his greatest regret. A heat rises in the Duke's eyes. A slow, consuming fire not of anger, but of clarity. "You lied to me," he says quietly. "You lied about her. You lied about my father. You lied about everything." Blackthorn stumbles backward. I did it for the good of Evermere. Your marriage was a liability. Your father was weak. And she... The Duchess steps forward like a queen descending her throne. Finish that sentence, she says, and I promise you will regret it. Blackthorn closes his mouth. Wisely. The assassins exchange glances, uneasy ones, because their target is no longer the Duchess. It is Elias, and Elias is no longer alone. The Duke moves to stand beside him, shoulder to shoulder. Enemy turned ally, sins turned purpose, regret turned resolve. What now? The Duke asks. Voice steady, stronger, finally worthy. Elias looks at the Duchess. We expose them, all of them. The Duchess holds up the stolen letters. And we do it publicly, at dawn. Blackthorn's scream tears through the night. No, if those letters are revealed, London will destroy me. The Duchess tilts her head. Her voice is silk, dipped in poison. Then London will finally do something right. The assassins step back, retreating, uneasy. Their orders given, their advantage lost, their prey no longer prey. And as the night air settles, as truth and vengeance hang heavy between roses and marble, Elias turns to his sister, eyes softening. There's one more thing, he murmurs. Something you must know before dawn. The Duchess stiffens. The Duke turns, alert. Elias breathes in, slow, heavy, fatal. The child is not just my son. He looks at her, pain bright in his eyes. He is your heir.